Today's latest update is Harry once said Meghan gets whatever she wants, but now that same man is looking at his own life and calling it a mistake, and that shift alone tells you everything about how far things have fallen.
For years the world has been told one very simple story. Prince Harry found the woman he loved, walked away from the royal family, and started a new life built on honesty, freedom, and truth. That was the narrative. But what if that story was missing a chapter no one expected to reopen? Because something unusual just happened. And it didn't come from a tabloid. It didn't come from a random social media rumor. It came from someone who had remained silent for more than a decade. Meghan Markle's former husband, Trevor Engle's son. Yes, that Trevor. The man who knew Meghan long before royal titles, Netflix deals, global interviews, and carefully crafted public narratives. And now, after years of saying absolutely nothing, he has allegedly revealed a claim so unexpected that people close to Prince Harry say it left him completely shaken. The claim? It involves a child. A story from Meghan's past that was never publicly discussed, never acknowledged, and according to those now talking about it, possibly never meant to surface. When Harry reportedly learned about it, insiders say his reaction wasn't anger. It was something far more personal. He broke down. Which raises a question that suddenly everyone is asking. What exactly did Trevor reveal? And why now?
Information came direct from Meghan's ex-husband, Trevor Engleson, via an intermediary. And obviously Trevor Engleson is a very...
The question now isn't just what was said. The real question is why it's suddenly being talked about now, after so many years of complete silence. To understand why this situation is creating so much shock, you have to go back to a time before royal titles, before international headlines, and before the world even knew the name Meghan Markle. Long before she became the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan was living a very different life in Hollywood. During that time, one of the most important people in her life was Trevor Engle's son, a film and television producer who had been with her for years while she was still trying to build her acting career. Their relationship wasn't a quick romance. It lasted nearly a decade. Friends who knew the couple at the time described them as deeply committed. They traveled together, built social circles together, and eventually in 2011 the relationship reached what many assumed would be a permanent milestone, a destination wedding in Jamaica surrounded by friends and family. At the time, nothing about their relationship suggested the kind of dramatic ending that would follow. But only 2 years later, in 2013, the marriage ended suddenly. The official explanation was simple: irreconcilable differences. However, people close to the situation have long hinted that the reality behind that phrase may have been much more complicated. According to several entertainment insiders who were present in their social circles during those years, the split didn't just happen quietly. It happened quickly, unexpectedly, and with almost no public explanation. One former colleague who claims to have known both of them during that time described the breakup in a way that still raises eyebrows today. Trevor didn't see it coming, the source said. One day everything seemed normal. The next, the marriage was over. Not long after the divorce, Meghan's career began to accelerate rapidly. Her role in the television drama Suits pushed her into a new level of public recognition, and within a few years she was moving in circles far beyond Hollywood casting rooms. Then came the relationship that would change everything. Prince Harry. When news first broke that the British prince was dating the American actress, the story instantly captured global attention. For many people, it felt like something out of a movie, a royal romance unfolding in real time. But behind the scenes, some people who had known Meghan earlier were already watching the situation with quiet curiosity. Because while the public was just learning about her, there were others who had known her for years. And one of them was Trevor Engle's son. What makes his recent comments so striking is that for more than a decade he refused to speak publicly about Meghan at all. Through the royal engagement, through the wedding watched by millions, through the explosive interviews that followed, through the royal exit that shocked the world, Trevor stayed silent. No interviews, no tell-all books, no dramatic statements. Which is exactly why what happened recently caught so many people off guard. According to multiple individuals who claim to be familiar with the situation, Trevor recently shared information through an intermediary, someone who then passed that information into certain media circles. At first, the details sounded vague. But then a specific claim began to surface. And that's when the story took a much darker turn. The claim centers around an alleged chapter of Meghan's past that has never been publicly acknowledged. A child. Now, before jumping to conclusions, it's important to emphasize that this information has not been confirmed, and the details being discussed remain allegations rather than verified facts. But the reason this story gained traction so quickly wasn't just the claim itself. It was the timing. and the reaction it reportedly triggered. According to individuals who claim to be close to Prince Harry, the moment he became aware of what was being said, the atmosphere around him changed immediately. One person familiar with the situation described the moment like this.
He didn't react the way people expected. There was no anger, no shouting. It was more like the air had been pulled out of the room.
Another source described Harry as visibly shaken. He kept asking the same question over and over, the source said. Why am I hearing this now? Meanwhile, online discussion exploded almost instantly. Screenshots of anonymous messages began circulating on social media. A post that quickly gained attention read, "Imagine finding out your partner's past has a chapter nobody told you about. Not the media. Not friends. No one." Another viral comment added fuel to the speculation. If even half of this story is true, the timeline raises a lot of questions. Within hours, hashtags related to Meghan, Harry, and Trevor were trending across multiple platforms. And suddenly a man who had spent more than 10 years avoiding the spotlight was at the center of one of the most talked about rumors on the internet. But the most unsettling part of the story isn't just the claim itself. It's the possibility that this may not be an isolated controversy. Because when people began digging deeper into Meghan's past relationships, they noticed something else. A pattern that some former friends and acquaintances had quietly talked about for years. The moment this rumor began circulating, the internet did what it always does best. It went into full investigation mode. Within hours, people were digging through old interviews, archived articles, and social media posts that most people had completely forgotten about. And then something strange started happening. Pieces of Meghan's past that had once seemed ordinary suddenly started being re-examined under a very different light. Clips from old interviews resurfaced online. Screenshots of long-deleted blog posts began circulating in forums. Even small comments from years ago started appearing in viral threads as people tried to connect dots that had never been connected before. One Twitter thread that gained nearly 1 million views began with a simple but provocative question. Has anyone ever noticed how many people from Meghan's past suddenly disappeared from her life? The thread then listed several names, former friends, relatives, and colleagues who had at various points claimed that they were abruptly cut off.
Within hours the thread exploded. Some users agreed immediately. Others pushed back just as strongly.
One comment read, "Setting boundaries with toxic people isn't a crime. People are really trying to rewrite history here." Another replied seconds later, "But when it's this many people saying the same thing, it stops looking like coincidence." Soon the debate moved far beyond a single rumor. Suddenly the internet wasn't just talking about Trevor Angelson's alleged claim anymore.
They were talking about patterns.
And that's when the situation escalated even further. Because just as the online debate reached its peak, a second twist dropped into the story. According to a media blogger who claims to have spoken with someone connected to Trevor's circle, the information that surfaced recently may not have been shared randomly. The source suggested something far more deliberate. Trevor didn't suddenly decide to talk, the blogger wrote. Something pushed him to finally let this information out. That single line triggered an entirely new wave of speculation. What could possibly push someone who stayed silent for more than a decade to suddenly speak? Some people believed the timing was connected to the growing tension between Harry and the royal family. Others suggested it might be related to the couple's ongoing media projects and public storytelling about their lives. But then another rumor surfaced that changed the tone of the conversation yet again. A second anonymous source claimed that people in Hollywood had quietly known fragments of this story for years, but that no one ever spoke publicly about it because it was considered too sensitive. That claim alone was enough to send social media into chaos. A viral post from a popular entertainment account read, "If Hollywood insiders really knew about this all along, the question becomes, why is it coming out now?" The comment section beneath that post quickly turned into a battlefield. Supporters of Meghan accused critics of spreading dangerous rumors without proof. Critics argued that the number of people speaking out about past experiences with her couldn't simply be ignored. Even celebrities began indirectly weighing in. One television personality posted a cryptic tweet that many people believed was referencing the situation. The truth about people's pasts always finds a way to surface eventually. Within minutes, thousands of replies flooded the post asking if it was about Meghan and Harry.
The celebrity never clarified.
But the damage, or intrigue, had already been done.
News outlets began noticing the growing online storm.
Morning talk shows started mentioning the rumors cautiously, using phrases like unverified claims and internet speculation. Entertainment blogs published headlines asking whether Meghan's past relationships were now being re-examined.
And through all of this, two people remained completely silent. Harry and Meghan. No statements. No denials.
No clarifications. That silence only made the speculation grow louder. Because in the absence of answers, the internet tends to invent its own. By the next day, the story had evolved into something much bigger than a single allegation.
It had become a full-blown cultural debate.
On one side were people defending Meghan, arguing that she had faced relentless criticism and unfair scrutiny since entering the royal spotlight. On the other side were critics who believed this story raised serious questions about the carefully constructed narrative surrounding her life. And then, just when it seemed like the controversy couldn't grow any larger, a new piece of information surfaced. According to someone claiming to have connections within royal circles, the palace had quietly taken notice of the online storm.
Not publicly, but internally.
And if that detail is true, it raises an even bigger question. Because if the royal family is now paying attention to this controversy, then the story may be far from over.
The story should have slowed down at this point.
Normally when a rumor spreads online, it burns brightly for a few hours, maybe a day, and then another trending topic replaces it. But this situation refused to fade away. Instead, it kept growing, pulling more people into the conversation and raising questions that nobody seemed able to answer. Then something happened that pushed the controversy into an entirely new phase. Late one evening, a message allegedly appeared in a private industry group chat used by several entertainment journalists and media insiders.
It wasn't a public tweet. It wasn't a published article.
It was a short message shared quietly among people who spend their careers chasing stories. And according to screenshots that later began circulating online, the message said something unexpected.
More people are about to speak.
Those 5 words instantly changed the atmosphere surrounding the story. Because if that message was real, it suggested that Trevor Engle's son might not be the only person connected to Meghan's past who is now reconsidering their silence. Within hours, speculation started exploding again.
Online forums began filling with theories about who these other people could be.
Former colleagues from Meghan's early acting days, old friends who had previously stayed out of the spotlight, even individuals who had briefly crossed paths with her during her rise in Hollywood. One viral post captured the mood perfectly. For years the public only heard one version of the story.
What if we're about to hear the other side?
That question alone sent the internet into another wave of investigation. People started digging even deeper into Meghan's past timeline, examining every period of her life that existed before she met Prince Harry. Old interviews were replayed frame by frame.
Archived blog entries were reread.
Even casual photos from early Hollywood events were being reposted and analyzed like clues in a mystery. And while the online world was spiraling into speculation, something else quietly began to unfold behind the scenes. Several media outlets reportedly started reaching out to people connected to Meghan's earlier life, asking the same simple question. Do you have anything to say now?
Most of those people declined to comment.
But a few responses were interesting. One former acquaintance reportedly told a reporter, "I've stayed quiet for years because I didn't want to be part of the circus. But lately it feels like the story everyone believes might not be the whole story."
Another source responded even more cryptically.
"Sometimes the past waits until the right moment to come back." Statements like these only added more fuel to an already raging fire. Meanwhile, inside royal circles, observers say there is growing curiosity about how this situation could evolve. The palace has publicly maintained complete silence, refusing to engage with any of the rumors or speculation. But royal watchers know that silence inside the institution doesn't always mean indifference.
Sometimes it simply means they are waiting.
Waiting to see which stories fade away, and which ones refuse to disappear.
And this story clearly isn't disappearing.
Because here's the part that makes everything even more intriguing. Despite the explosion of headlines, viral posts, and endless debate online, neither Meghan nor Prince Harry has addressed the claims directly.
No official denial. No clarification. No statement. Just silence. For some people, that silence means the rumors should be ignored entirely.
For others, the silence is exactly what makes the story feel unfinished. And now, with whispers that additional voices from Meghan's past may soon start speaking publicly, the controversy appears to be entering a completely new chapter. If more people come forward, the narrative that the world has followed for years could suddenly look very different. But until that moment arrives, the biggest questions remain unanswered. What exactly did Trevor Engle's son reveal behind the scenes? Why did he choose this moment, after more than a decade of silence, to let the story surface? And if the rumors about others preparing to speak are true, what else could still be waiting to come out? Because if there's one thing history has shown again and again, it's this. The past has a strange habit of returning when people least expect it. And in this case, it may have only just started. And now the question is no longer just about a rumor. It's about the bigger picture. For years the public has watched the story of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle unfold like a real-life drama. A royal love story, a dramatic exit from the palace, explosive interviews, books, documentaries, and endless headlines.
Millions of people around the world believe they understood the full story.
But moments like this remind us that sometimes the past doesn't stay in the past.
Sometimes it waits.
And when it finally surfaces, it changes the way everyone looks at the story.
Right now, there are still more questions than answers. Trevor Engle's son breaking his silence after more than a decade is already raising eyebrows.
The claims now circulating online are serious, emotional, and incredibly controversial. And if even a small part of this story turns out to be true, it could reshape the narrative people have believed for years.
But we want to know what you think.
Do you believe Trevor had the right to speak after staying silent for so long? Or do you think some parts of someone's past should remain private forever?
And what about Harry's reaction?
If the reports about his emotional response are accurate, does that change the way you see this entire situation? The conversation around this story is only getting started, and the internet is already divided. Some people believe this is a massive revelation that could change everything. Others think it's just another rumor in the endless media storm surrounding Harry and Meghan.
So now we're handing the conversation to you. Drop your opinion in the comments below. Do you think more people from Meghan's past will start speaking out? Or will this story disappear as quickly as it appeared?
And if you want to stay updated as new twists unfold, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Because if there's one thing we've learned about stories like this, it's that the biggest revelations usually come when nobody expects them.
This story isn't over yet.